He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome to Coast View, the show that continues to celebrate the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such a great place to live, work, and play. Someone once wrote that community theater enriches the lives of those who take an active part in it, as well as the community who benefit from the live performances. On either side of the footlights, those involved represent diversity of age, the culture, life experience, and a strong appreciation for the importance of the art. That kind of sums it up for me. When I was at the Sun Herald, we always dedicated resources to cover theater and performing arts because we really understood that they were important to the community. It's not just about the compelling entertainment that results, and that's obviously very important. It can be super fun as well, as you're going to see this morning, but it's all about improving relationships in the community by helping understand the world around us better. It gives us a deeper understanding of different thoughts and feelings that exist in society. It helps us gain an appreciation for diversity in our community. Theater and the performing arts can literally teach society about itself. And when we do that, we have a deeper appreciation for those around us. That's such a contrast these days, though, to the shallow, too often divided social media world so many live in today. We're going to have fun this morning, and we're also going to talk about how and get a great reminder for why the theater and the performing arts are so important in our community. I'm going to be joined by Karen Abernathy, Shorty Sneed, and David Delk. Karen and WLOX are nearly synonymous. She's been a mainstay and a calm voice anchor for WLOX since 1985. She's also an extremely active person as it relates to the performing arts in our community. People know her in that way. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning. It's great to see you, Ricky. It's been a while.
Good to see you too, my old friend. Hey, our sons Jordan and Henderson played soccer together. I really miss those days.
Oh, me too. Can you believe how that flies by? We used to have so much fun on the sidelines, especially on those really hot days.
We did. And now my son Justin lives in New York, as Henderson lives in New York. And he works for, your son Henderson works for Good Morning America. I bet you're a proud mom.
Oh, yes. It is exciting. You know, he has been there now for several years and lives right in the heart of the city. And so it's a great place to visit and get to see all those Broadway shows until.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
We need to get a place together sometime.
Until the pandemic hit. You know, I was up there monthly for 7 years, and we tried to connect along the way, but he was busy in his role, but we at least were in touch with each other. That's what's important. So we'll come back to you in just a second. Hey, Shorty Sneed is a Coast character. He's a gifted insurance executive whose contributions to coastal Mississippi have been super significant, especially when you consider the Katrina aftermath. He's community-minded. It would take the rest of the show to list the things he's been involved in. But his work at Center Stage has been legendary. Good morning, Shorty.
Good morning. I've never been called a legendary.
Well, you are legendary, and people are going to find out why in just a second. But, hey, listen, I really enjoyed our Coast View session together. I want to thank you for opening up. Your story, especially as it relates to your daughter, Lori, was so inspiring. God bless her, man. What an inspiring young woman she was. But thank you for being so willing to share that with us.
Well, thank you. It was I listened to part of it yesterday, in fact, and it was embarrassing then and it is now. But anyway, thank you. I appreciate you having me. Well,
I started that show out by saying the measure of a man is, how he is with his family. And you have a lot to be thankful for. You're a very blessed man, and I really appreciate you sharing that story. But hey, by the way, if people didn't see my time with my Close View session with Shorty, you can go to Facebook or your favorite podcast platform and search Shorty Sneed Coast View, and it will pop up. You'll be glad you did if you didn't see it before. I'll be back in just a second, Shorty. David Delk is the owner of ABC Rental Centers, and he's been active in community theaters for many years. His leadership and involvement in things like Sounds of Holidays spanned nearly 30 years. Incidentally, his Coast View session video with me has been viewed on Facebook nearly 10 10,000.
Wow. My
Impromptu-
ego thanks you. Thanks to the community. That's
where
great.
your impromptu performance of What a Wonderful World with the pandemic as a backdrop really touched a lot of people. Were you surprised, David?
I had a lot of compliments on that. It was amazing how people that really touched them. You're right about all this going on.
Yeah, it was amazing. And Shorty, I don't remember how many times your Coast View video has been viewed.
Well, three now, and 2 of those have been mine.
No,
10,000 times. Look, if I could sing, this is because I'm on here with 2 singers. This is like never appear with children or animals, and so I don't know which one. So
Shorty,
Karen's got a dog, and that makes David a child.
His ratings will go right down if you sing. Don't sing.
Well, David was sitting on his bench at his piano, and I said, "What's on the piano behind you?" He says, "It's What a Wonderful World." He turned and played it sort of impromptu, and it just touched a nerve, and people shared it, and we had a lot of fun with it. So that was awesome.
Was it really impromptu, David?
Of course it was impromptu. It was there. The music was there.
So both of you one thing. Wait a minute, Ricky.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask both of you 2 singers. Both of you have probably sung The Rose before. It's a very lovely song by Bette Midler. Trivia question for all of you. How many times is the word "the rose" mentioned in the song?
Never.
One, never. David, what's your?
1.
Karen, what?
1.
1.
2.
David.
2 times.
Bingo, Karen, you win.
1.
It's only once, and it's the last word in the song.
Wow,
not fair.
interesting.
That is not fair.
That's it. Trivia question. That's it. Okay, Ricky, you're back.
Okay, so all 3 of these guys are really talented people, and they're good friends with each other, as you can imagine. So you were going to talk about, obviously why the performing arts is important in coastal Mississippi. We're going to also have a little bit of fun. And I should say this. I've had over 300 Coast View conversations now since January the 6th. And some people would say of this group that I might have bit off more than I can chew. I'm pretty sure I have a tiger by the tail this morning. So why don't we just get started? You guys know each other in various forms through the performing arts over the years, but you were actually together as judges for the Beau's Got Talent show on January the 29th, and the pandemic literally was right around the corner. Karen, that must seem like it was light years ago.
It does. So much has changed, and it really wasn't that long ago, but put me between those 2 guys, and we did have a lot of fun, and we missed those days. We're ready to get back to that.
So you had to sit between them, didn't you? I think there was a lot of misbehavior going on, and they just couldn't sit together and something like that.
Let me say one thing. I know Karen was supposed to answer that, but she and I showed up both years. We were supposed to have done the Beau Talent show judging 2 years in a row, and the first year somebody didn't make it.
I broke my arm. I crushed my arm, and the French. I couldn't make. I was in the hospital, Shorty Sneed.
You fell down and took drunk or something. I don't know what happened.
It was the French Quarter, so you never.
It was the French Quarter. And look, I figured since we all can't get together, I have like little cutouts that I can be close to my friends.
Yeah, for our radio and podcast audience, yeah. David's holding up.
That's right.
Cutouts.
Let me tell you, if Shorty acts up. Oh wait! Oops, that was Karen.
So Karen, when you're around these 2, you're the mother in the group, I guess.
Oh, I'm mother.
Years of experience, although I don't know what that says about age, but I guess I could be Shorty's mom, right?
Not quite.
In theater, all of that is gone. So you can be mothers and daughters,
whatever.
And sons,
that's correct.
Whatever you want to be. So
with makeup and costumes.
Lighting, good lighting.
So what, Karen? Say it again, Karen.
Not good.
So look, I'm looking forward to having this conversation because we are going to have a little bit of fun, but we're also going to talk about why the performing arts is so important to a community. Hey, Shorty, how did you guys, get to know each other over the years?
Gee whiz, Karen and I met, I guess, through Gaston 100 years ago. And in fact, it's Gaston's first cousin, her cousin-in-law, that encouraged my son Johnny to go to the University of Texas, which is where he's from. That was I've had a brain aneurysm here. What is Oh, he's not going to be able to believe it. Couldn't think of his name. Anyway, that's how we met through Gaston, and then David and I. David's so much younger than Karen and me. I don't know. I knew David's mother and father.
Decades.
Decades. Hey, so but speaking of your son Johnny, Shorty, he's done movies with Harrison Ford, Drew Barrymore, Jimmy Fallon. He's done over 200 commercials. He was the Volkswagen man at one point, and that's what he was literally known for. He was also the knight in the Bud Light commercials. You got to be proud of him, huh?
Yeah, we've been real pleased with his career. Yeah, thank you.
But you can watch my Coast View session with Shorty to understand why he wasn't necessarily thrilled about this.
Right.
Johnny had gone off to law school and then decided to make a little bit of a diversion. And his dad worked really hard to keep him from going into the acting direction. And now the rest is history. But look, why don't we do this? We're having a conversation with Karen Abernathy, Shorty Sneed, and David Delk. And they're great friends. They have made so many powerful contributions to the performing arts in coastal Mississippi. When we come back, we continue the conversation, and you're going to gain appreciation for their friendship, but also why it's important for us to continue to foster a strong performing arts community. We'll be back after this break.
Subscribe for free to the Coast View podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I have David Delk, Karen Abernathy, and Shorty Sneed with us today. We're going to have a little bit of fun for sure. I mean, I know it. I have a tiger by the tail. I bit off more than I can chew with this conversation, but it's going to be a good one. It's going to be fun to listen to, but it's also going to be an important reminder about what is important in our community as it relates to the performing arts. David, how do you know these guys?
Well, rehab was where we started.
Oh, David.
Rehab. No. Believe it or not, I was very shy in high school, so I didn't just develop like theater till after school. And every summer I would come home and I started doing theater and stuff. And I was introduced to Center Stage by going to help paint on their sets. And it was a small theater on Callan Lorraine Road, right across from St. James Catholic Church. I think it was an old automobile shop. Tiny little place, little scurrying little rats, and raccoons. And Shorty was doing a show there. I don't remember the show, but I walked in being very shy. I was doing a little theater, but he is so off the wall. He came and talked to me, and I was scared of him at first. But after a while, you realize that he's not such a bad guy. He's a great guy. And I've just known him over the years, over and over. In fact, I found a picture. We were in a show together, and here we are right here. We're just kind of, Shorty has great, I think we call him Rubber Face Sneed, I think. He just has some great things. But let me tell you, the interesting story is that I really knew him before because he did our commercials where I work at ABC Rentals, and he was in the commercials. And I just remember that,
That's what I was going to say. I think that's the first time I probably met you was your dad.
Yeah, probably so. I don't know if they brought me to when you were doing the commercials, but he always did this little face thing at the end. Can you do the face for us at the end? Shorty, go ahead and do it. There you go.
I didn't know that. That was the one that we did 47 takes on or something, where I picked up a 25-pound sledgehammer and broke some concrete, and we did it 47 times or something. And it was Francisco was the director. He says, Shorty, that was good, but let's just do it one more time. So that was my introduction to David Delk and his dad and ABC Rental. Yeah.
So, but the story was that he would have that little face at the end. Do the face one more time. There you go. And what was the tagline?
Gee, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
One day I was working here and we got a phone call, and I said, good morning, ABC Rentals. And they said, listen, I just saw that commercial, and if I see that man one more time on my screen, I'm going to come down and burn ABC Rentals down.
All right. Well, while we're telling stories about this, I want to say, just you made me think of an aside. My son did a thing at Center Stage one time with David's mother, And I still say of all the performances I've seen, including all of Wayne Stevens's, which are like 152 of them, was his mother did the thing was Smoke on the Mountain. And it was about a traveling, sort of group that had a church in the country in North Carolina. I don't remember who the author was, but my son played the preacher, the young Baptist preacher. And Rosemary Delk was the choir director, or she was a member of the congregation or something. And then that show, David's mother has a scene that is the best scene I've ever seen at center stage in all seriousness. She tells a story about a firefly, and it's real descriptive, and it's so soft, and it lures you into this wonderful little, you think, what a wonderful motherly, grandmotherly type thing. And all of a sudden she just stomps her foot and kills the damn fly. And it's just the funniest thing that I've ever seen on stage.
Hey, David, one of the things that hit me, though, as you told your story, you talked about when you were young, you were shy. And one of the things that the theater has done for you and others, and you see it over and over again, is this opportunity to sort of express your emotions without the fear of rejection, the opportunity to build confidence and responsibility within the young performers. I mean, that can't be overstated. That's real. Karen, come back to you for a second. You've seen that over and over again, haven't you?
Oh, yes, definitely. I mean, it's a wonderful feeling to be able to have that kind of influence on people who may be too shy to branch out and try something, then they try theater. And I think David, that was in his case. I'm actually a pretty shy person too, and here I am on television and love theater too.
That's where I've seen you.
Yeah. But it makes a difference. David, you've seen it over and over again, haven't you?
Absolutely. People come and they're like in the back, and like myself, I was in the chorus. I was scared to death, but then eventually you meet new people. The theater's accepting. They are, these people, I would not know these people on this screen if I did, in theater. And I wouldn't know you either, Ricky, if I had done theater,
Right.
And it just changed my life for the better. Pretty much.
All of my closest friends are theater friends, people who I've met through music and theater. David and I sing in the Coast Big Band too, and we do all kinds of things together, fundraising.
Now, don't get me wrong. There's some really nasty people in theater, but we won't mention those names, right? We'll just move right on.
Most are great.
Somebody that you're talking. I think somebody that was probably relatively shy. It was Sharon, the late Sharon Sharon Cameron McNair, who just passed away. God love her. Within about a month ago, or maybe two. And I was in a play with her, and we appeared on Karen's show, and it was to be interviewed for WLOX. And Sharon told me something. She had won the Flickering Flame Award at Gulfport Little Theater, and she had told me that at rehearsal, and I thought she was serious. It was the first play she and I had ever done together, which I think was the lady from Maxine's, and she played a hooker that I played, and I played a doctor that picked her up. And so she told me, and I said that on the show, on the air, on television. She said, I was just kidding about that. I didn't win any award. I thought she was serious. She was so good, and she was such a great actress. I just want to add to what both of you are very eloquent about the theater, and so are you, Ricky. I didn't have the same thing. I was never shy. I did crazy things when I was a kid in talent shows and all at school, but never was able to get into a theater play. I tried from Miss Baxley. I tried out for The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis when I was a senior in high school, just so I could kiss Betty Perouse, because that was a scene in there. And I didn't get the part, and I was crushed. And then I never did anything in theater. I did radio, broadcasting in both high school and college. But when I came back, and Joe Little got me to come audition for a deal, and I think I told this to Ricky at the time, but I read my audition like I was reading a newscast. I said, and yes, I think that we're going to stand by for news. And they said, no. She said, don't read it like that. Do it just natural. And so I had just a small part as a bellboy in 1975, 76. And that was the first time I'd ever done any acting. I learned a lot from Bill Howard and others. I think the main thing I got from both of you all in listening to you just now was that the experiences and the friendships you make among the cast members is what it's just like people playing sports. People say they miss the people. You get thrown together for 2 or 3 months, and you're just every night and almost every day, and then all of a sudden you don't see each other every now and then. But you really have great, great, great friendships made out of that.
And you cherish those memories, you know, for years and years. It's just wonderful.
And actually, not being able to experience that right now is hard on a lot of people. Well, not just theater people, everyone is so right now. But the first few months during the pandemic, you kind of rediscover things like outdoor porch meetings and all of these nice quiet things where you get together with people in settings you normally wouldn't, which is great, really, without any distractions because you're outside, so there's no TV or anything else. So that part of it's wonderful. But after however many months it's been now, it starts to get a little bit trying for everyone, I think, because it's the same thing every day.
Hey, Karen, I heard somebody describe it. Just a minute, Ricky. I'm going to let you take back over. Somebody said to me the other day, said, I think March was like 9 months long, and yet it just seems like 2020 has flown by. I mean, all of a sudden it's like October almost, and you're going like, where did it go?
There's one rule that we talk about on the show from time to time for 2021, and that is the rule is we cannot talk about 2020 unless let's just say
2020 hindsight.
Hey, for sure. But you know what's interesting is you guys are expressing this from the point of view of how much you have been valued from, I mean, what you've gotten from it. The experience personally,
Absolutely.
Friendships, the ability to grow, the enjoyment of entertaining others. And I could just go on and on about that. And Karen, I mentioned that at the Sun Herald, we used to have dedicated resources just to focus on this part of our community. But, you go back in your career, you have always given incredible attention to this part of the community, because it's not just about what you as three actors and leaders in this community have gotten from it, but it's about understanding the contributions that this creates for a community. For example, when I said it literally teaches a society about itself, that's true, isn't it?
It is. It really is, because are you talking about theater right now, right?
Yes.
It's a shared experience, and there's nothing like it, because live theater, things happen, unexpected things. It's not always perfect, but you also have that camaraderie in the audience, the people that are brought together for this very personal experience is really unlike anything else, because, you're all just in there together and close up, especially like in those New York theaters, you know how close you are there. But all of them, you're shoulder to shoulder with strangers, but you get to know people even around you and on stage, and of course, if you're on stage, you kind of get to know the audience too, depending on what show you're doing. But yeah, it's a very personal and rewarding experience, I think, for the audience and for the actors, and it really does connect people.
Yeah. Shorty, did you want to add something to that?
Well, no, just she made me think of something that, David referred to the old theater on Calvin Lane Road, that it was a converted church and body shop type thing, and literally the first row was just right to your, like a yard, 3 feet from you, and there's no elevated stage. It was just flat. And I was doing a show one time with your old buddy Roland's wife, Debbie, and we were playing husband and wife. We're getting down in time. I'll tell it.
Let's do this. We'll come back on the other side, and I'll let you tell that story. But this is Karen Abernathy, David Delk, and Shorty Sneed. We're talking about performing arts and theater and how important they are to our community. And we're having a little fun, too. So we'll see you at the other side of the break.
You can also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast.
He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We have Karen Abernathy, David Delk, and Shorty Sneed, and we're talking about the performing arts and theater in coastal Mississippi, and we're just having a little bit of fun. But anyway, Shorty, when we went to break, you were telling the story about the old theater. Talk about that.
You're taught in theater to, not make eye contact with the audience, look at their forehead, and you don't interact. You don't get out of character. Bill Howard taught me that the first play I was ever in, you remain in character. I think he was in character when he was, during the intermission. But anyway, one night, I was talking about how close we were on stage, and I'm married in the play to Debbie Weeks, and I have a scene to kiss her, and conversely, or it is a serious case. You don't just do stage kisses. There's one girl I was with one time. So anyway, I'm looking out the window, and on the first row are Roland Weeks, who's her husband at that time, and his mother and father, her in-laws from South Carolina. And so we went off stage that night, and Debbie says to the other cast members, "I just don't know about Shorty. He just wasn't himself tonight. The kiss just didn't seem." I said, "Well, I'll tell you the truth. I don't get intimidated on stage too often, but I said I did. Out of the corner of my eyes, I was kissing you. I saw your mother-in-law and your father-in-law and your husband." And I said, it just sort of unnerved me for a minute. So she was getting on me about it and kidding me throughout the whole rest of the night. So the next night, the next performance, we had the same little scene, and they weren't there. And I gave her a kiss that would made her eyeballs twirl around. And so it was so good. And I said, we walked off in the dark, and then it fades to dark, and we exit. And I said, "How was that, big girl?" Anyway, you just made me think about it. When as singers, they make eye contact with the audience all the time.
Awful.
I'm not a singer.
David,
I have a story about the same thing, and literally, he is correct. Their first row was literally their feet were on the stage.
Yeah,
they were flat. So one time I was singing away, and I looked down the front row, and this older person was like this.
Sweet.
That does nothing for you.
You what, Karen?
Phones ring or whatever. You know how you tell people.
Yeah. Hey, Karen, over the years, what was your favorite
out there? Yeah.
Karen, over the years, what was your favorite part?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think really your favorite part is the one you're doing at the moment. But I loved Fair Lady. I was in that actually 3 times. That's one of my favorites. David directed that.
I directed it once.
Wait, here you go. Mamma Mia, which was just last
year.
Fantastic.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. David, what was your favorite part over the years?
Joseph,
my favorite part is any show with Shorty, Sneed, or Karen Abernathy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. That's political.
I think Dave and I did Lend Me a Tenor one time.
Lend Me a Tenor. And this is what I saw. This is the way Shorty was before he went on stage. I took a picture of it. Look at that.
I was doing the look.
That's great. Can I try to
backstage?
David, back in the day, this is a really, I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, move it over just to your left a little bit.
It's
to my
go
left.
To your left, Karen.
Hit that button about unblur your image.
Okay, there you go. Can't really see very well, but that's okay.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, you were the purser in Anything Goes. Remember that day?
Yes. In other words, Karen was the star, and I was the purser that carried her luggage on and off the stage. That is what I did.
Because as we all know, David is always the star.
Oh.
Wait a minute. What about Wayne Stevens?
Who?
Hey, sorry. Shorty, over the years, what was your favorite part?
I'll have to say, I always list Neil Simon's Odd Couple, where I played Oscar. I did that twice, and it's because I didn't have to act at all. I just was a slob. And that was one of my favorites. And I love, of course, 2 of the Boyce Holloman roles that I was able to cover, and that was the governor in The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Oh.
And, of course, Big Daddy in Cat on a High Tin Roof, I have to say.
Well, was he not classic in both of them? I mean, Boyce Holloman, what a legacy he left in the theater community.
And let me just tell you, Shorty, I think it was last year or 2018, he did Cat on a Hot Tin Roof as Big Daddy, right?
Right.
He was unbelievable as Big Daddy. And with Kennedy Miazza, she was in it. It was just a great production, first class.
Hey, you remember any lines? You remember any lines, Shorty?
From what? From Big Daddy?
Yeah.
But can you smell it, Brick? Mendacity. Mendacity. And then the little daughter says, "Well, Big Daddy, I don't even know what that is. Whatever, I don't even know what that means."
Don't get him started, please.
I've never been on stage with Shorty.
No, other than other than the snacks. We did a snacks together. That's about it. Yeah, because I don't sing.
What is that? What is that, Shorty?
We would play together. Would you be able to kiss me, Shorty?
Of course.
Dave,
I love it.
I couldn't do it. Karen's like a sister to me. I'd go, ugh,
it's like a tie. That's what Bear Bryant said. A tie is like kissing your sister. Snacks is a Saturday night at Center Stage. Those were little fundraisers that we did, musicals, and Karen's done a lot of those. Gaston is. It's really a lot of just people. I did one as a semi-singer. I sang a song called "I Just Don't Look Good Naked Anymore." Yeah. Some said it was an autobiographical sketch.
And he pretty much nearly gets naked when he does that song.
Wow, I heard about that, Shorty. Tell me about what you were wearing.
Well, it's several shows I've done at Center Stage. I have some heart-shaped underwear that I oftentimes have to take my clothes off and get down to. It's become sort of a trademark. But that night, I came out in a bathrobe, and of course, I did have those same shorts on underneath. But my mother and my wife were there in the audience, both wearing sunglasses at 8:00 at night, so that nobody would recognize them. But I sang that one song about, something like, I step out of the shower and got a good look at myself. Gray hair, fat belly. Hell, I thought it was somebody else. I saw my reflection in the mirror on the back of the bathroom door, and I just don't look good naked anymore.
The image is burned into our minds.
But Karen was responsible for that, I think. Yeah.
So Karen?
Lines from songs and plays like you just did, Shorty. Did you plan ahead of time for these things today?
Did I plan for what? For the interview?
No, for the song to just come out like that? Because
the song? No, that's the only line I remember. And I will say one thing other about songs. I did in Governor, the Governor in the Whorehouse, you have to sing one song. I love Therese Gargiulo. We all do. She's a great singer and great comic actress. And so I used to say to Therese, I said, let's do something together. She says, I only do musicals. I said, well, then we'll never do anything together because obviously I can't sing. And so we never did. And all of a sudden, then she pushed Chuck to let me do Governor part in Whorehouse, which I thought was just delightful. But I learned Gaston was the band behind me playing the guitar. And I learned at that night what one performance, the difference between live theater and musicals. And that was, in a play, you can cover for each other. If somebody drops a line, you pick it up, you make it all work. And that's just what we do on the air. You do the same thing, blah, blah, blah. Well, in a musical, the song just rolls on. I was sitting there one night, and this kid had a line to me as a press conference for the Governor. And I thought to myself, he didn't say his words very loudly. The audience is not going to understand my response. And so I'm thinking all that in my mind as the band is playing. And I realized about 8 bars into the song, I'm supposed to be singing. So I kind of and I kind of caught up. Well, I just did the Texas side step, blah, blah, blah. After the show that night, I asked my wife, who was in the audience, I said, could you tell that I didn't know? She said, oh, yeah, you could tell. and I realized that in singing, you've really got, you got to know when to come in. You got to do that. I never knew when to come in. I couldn't carry a tune. Anyway, I respect these guys.
Let me tell you, I have a story, too. It's amazing you say that, but Karen can throw in her comments. But you're right, a song, you have to sing everything. So one time I was singing with the Gulf Coast Symphony, and it was at the Grand Theater. I was singing my heart out, and somebody, the conductor was going. It was wonderful, and somebody took a flash photo in the audience, and I thought, why would they do that? And my words went away. Right. So I just started making up words, and I start hitting my chest with energy and everything. And after it was over, this lady came up, and some lady I didn't know, and she said, that was the best song I've ever heard in my life. I was so emotional. You hitting your chest like that. I thought, honey, I was just making up the words.
Did you tell her it was an original?
It was an original song.
Go ahead, Karen.
Up for the words you couldn't remember, so you had to emote.
Right.
I had to emote, made up words. They didn't rhyme. I don't know what I did, but I was so thankful it was over.
Hey, so Karen, Karen, when you look back in the history of theater in coastal Mississippi, what names come to mind as having made the biggest contributions?
Oh, well, Boyce Holloman would be one that you all were talking about. Of course, Therese Gargiulo, Barbara Salome. I mean, she used to do so much theater and is such an amazing gift to the coast.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I'll ask the same question of Shorty and David when we come back from the break. But this is Karen Abernathy, Shorty Sneed, and David Delk, and we're talking about the performing arts and theater in coastal Mississippi and how important they are. And we're having a little bit of fun, too. We'll see you after this break.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast View on your laptop, desktop, or on your phone or tablet by going to supertalkmsgulfcoast.com.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We have Karen Abernathy, David Delk, and Shorty Sneed joining us for just a fun conversation, but also a serious conversation about the role that the theater and the performing arts really plays in coastal Mississippi. Hey, when we went to break, I asked Karen who came to mind. She named a few names, Boyce Holloman, Barbara Salome, and others. When you think about that, Shorty, who comes to mind for you?
Well, I've got to say, seriously, Ruth Ann P. Cooley, when I worked with Ruth Ann, she was always the most prepared person. I mean, after the first rehearsal, she knew her lines flat. She always knew her blocking and all that. So I think I thought of some names. Bill Howard was a wonderful mentor to me, and first play I was ever in taught me about. Bill had a great line when we got through with rehearsals and got through right before we did the dress rehearsal. He says, "Watch this in my ear," and it was when we tried to work on how the curtain call was going to be, and also then what the women were going to wear, the costumes. He says, "Watch this." And I just got a kick out of that because it's turned out to be so true. But I think I mentioned Wayne Stevens, that I think is a friend of all of ours, is just a great actor, and he does musicals, he does drama, he does comedy, and he just he totally absorbs the character that he portrays, and I respect him. Boy, he's been in 158 center stage productions, it seems like, but I think it is only like 50 or 60. You may know, David, how many he's been in. I don't know.
Well, let me tell you how many he's been in. He was in everything. One day I called him and I said, "Wayne, oh my gosh, they just changed the theater's name." And he went, "You're kidding." I said, "The sign is going up." And he said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "It is huge." He said, "What's the name of it?" And I said, "It's the Wayne Stevens Theater." And he called me, of course, bad names and everything, but he's so talented.
He is just immensely talented. He really is. And I'll tell you one thing on Whorehouse, he played the Don DeLuise part, where he's the radio and now TV rook guy, muckraker kind of
religious
fanatic kind of guy. And he was all up in it, up over roars over the whorehouse and football and everything else. And in the play, the governor's trying to sidestep all the stuff, as most of you know. And so the audience is going crazy one time when I'm doing my song, and I thought, well, they really like this, and we were taping it that night. So after the show was over, I looked at the tape, and I thought the audience was going crazy over me. It was because Wayne was upstairs doing all kind of dancing and screwing around and everything else. And they were laughing at him. He steals the moment or whatever he's doing. But he is a tremendous treasure, and that's the one. To some of all y'all were so serious about what theater means. But before there was radio and television, and probably before there were newspapers, there were acting. There was acting in Italy and in England and just theater troops, and it was the expression of people's moment.
Well, that's actually going back to, Shorty, a lot of theaters, since we can't, all the theaters on the coast have decided to really hold off to the end of this year or next year. So that's going back to that primitive time of theater. A lot of people are doing things outside. Right. Bring your own chair and just go outside and be entertained. They shut a street off in several towns, and you perform the street for 30 minutes and then you move on. So we're doing that. We're thinking about that. But let me tell you, the people that really mean a lot to me, I mean, we have a lot of actors, but let me tell you, we have some great directors here, like Chuck White of Center Stage. He is unbelievable, right, guys? He's just
absolutely.
He's just great. He's the artistic director there.
It makes you perform and makes you seek excellence in a community volunteer situation. It's really
absolutely top class. And we have there was many years ago Kennard Fight, that was a big deal. We have people like Anthony Calbert to decorate the set like a house. Unbelievable. There's Tim Baker, who just moved from California. He's a set designer. Volunteers that are backstage that help you learn your lines. I mean, it's a community. I mean, we get all the credit, which is fine with me. But there's so many people that put these shows on. We just can't do it without the lighting person, like Rachel Neal,
Yeah. All the credit. And actually, David probably never gets enough credit for everything that he does. May I, David?
Stop it.
Oh, well, what?
On stage, of course, he gets all the applause and the standing ovation and all. But David works behind the scenes a lot too, and not only for shows that he's directly involved with, but he'll go out of his way to help other theater people when they
absolutely
need. So, I mean, he's always there, and of course, he's what were you, the humanitarian of the year one year, David?
Yes, I was. Yes,
he's a giving person, and of course, I love him dearly.
Well, I mean, he's an easy guy to love. When you see people respond to him the way that they did.
I don't get
10,000 views on the show.
Over 10,000 views.
Yes.
If I could sing, if only I could sing. And I want to say one other thing. It sounds like a mutual admiration society, which a lot of actors usually are. But Karen, when you ask her about her roles, one of the great roles she did, she's such a musical person and so good. One of the great roles she did was Nurse Cratchit in One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest. Absolutely terrific.
She was hateful.
Well, look, guys, here's the deal. I wish we had 3 more hours, but we don't.
What?
We're coming to the end. It's been a wonderful visit, and I think when you play this back, you'll enjoy it.
We hadn't rehearsed the curtain call yet.
We should probably meet once a week.
I thought this was rehearsal.
I want you to know this, seriously, I'm the only person that has not touched my hair. The other two have been doing their hair, and if you two guys had hair at all, you'd touch it, but the two of them have been poofing their hair and everything, but the whole time we were...
Well, it is a wonderful world for sure, and it's a wonderful world because we have wonderful people in this community who are willing to dive deep into understanding, what's so great about the community. And one of the things that's great is theater, and you guys have made a lifelong contribution. I can't tell you how much I personally appreciate it, and I really appreciate you joining me today just to remind people why this is important. So y'all have a great day.
Thank you, Rick.
Support the arts.
Great seeing you guys.
All right. See ya.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.